Giovanna and I are covering part 2 of Craig Groeschel's Think Ahead. Let's dig into the episode. What's up and what's happening, TPE family? We're back with another episode of the book club. Myself and Giovanna are here, and we're happy to serve and to share with you guys some of the insights that we've gained from this section of the book that we're covering that has been written by none other than Craig Groeschel, and it is called Think Ahead. I want to direct you guys to wherever you purchase your books: Amazon, Books A Million. Is Books A Million still a thing? Barnes and Nobles, wherever that is that you might be purchasing books from, online, Target. Get a copy of this book. I think it really will help you on your journey of leadership and discovery and development, and it really will challenge you to become better as it relates to those things that we talk about on a day in and day out basis. Ironically, we had a lead better at the beginning of the year where we talked about goal setting, where Giovanna and Ashley talked to us about the habits that lead towards reaching your goals. And I believe that this lesson that we're going through just echoes that, not this lesson in particular, but the book as a whole. And so, again, the point and purpose of the book club is to cultivate an atmosphere of learning by using authors that want to create value in other leaders. And so that's what we are choosing to do with Craig Groeschel. As you guys know, Craig Groeschel has a podcast. He is a developer of the YouVersion app. Well, his church is. And so Craig Groeschel has always been cutting edge as it relates to leadership and leadership concept. And so this is someone who we want to definitely pour into and lean into and listen to some of the things that he has to offer. A quick announcement: if you haven't already, we've gotten a good number of people already signed up for this month's Lead Better. Please head over to tpenow.com and sign up for this month's Lead Better. We're going to be talking about systems and processes. Giovanna and I we're going to be hosting a Q&A style session where we're going to intake your questions from a Google form. Once you sign up, you'll get a link for that form. And we'll be able to create a conversation around some of the things that you guys are bringing to the table. But today's lesson, I want to jump into that really, really quickly. We're still in the area of the I'm ready. Remember, last time we talked about those 7 key things that you're going to predetermine. I will be ready. I will be devoted. I will be faithful. I will be an influencer. I will be generous. I will be consistent. And I will be a finisher. And we're still in the I'm ready, I will be ready component. And we're going to be talking about planning your escape and knowing your weak spot. Planning your escape and knowing your weak spot. And I'm going to gather the guess that, Giovanna, I think you can echo this, that we've lived enough life to know that we have weak spots, blind spots. We know that we have areas of opportunity, things that we can work on, things that we can be better at. And this conversation really, 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 and I'm about to tell you this, you have to really think about what you do day in and day out that triggers you to fall from the goals or the habits that you're trying to create. And so I'm going to kick it over to Giovanna and allow her to go ahead and kind of really get us started in this conversation. But no, please take some notes and be ready to take a look in the mirror to see what can you do to avoid falling into those pitfalls and planning your escape.
So last time we talked a lot about going ahead and setting goals around physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health. And when we talked about those goals, I kind of pointed y'all back to our Lead Better from January. So if you didn't get a chance to listen to that, go back and listen to that Lead Better on YouTube because it has some really, really good content around how to set goals in those buckets. But I think what you need to think about when you think about planning your escape and knowing your weak spot, I think the biggest thing you need to think about is which of those goals or buckets do you struggle with the most? And so I'll point out for myself so that you guys don't think, oh, these leaders, they don't have any issues in these weak spots. Nope, we do. And I would say, I'll start with the physical one. As a group, me, Ashley, Alex, and Neff, we all started kind of talking about our physical health, I would say maybe 6 months ago. And it's one area that we all struggle in. And it's one area that we talk about when we look at people who are ultra successful. A lot of times you see them and they're physically fit. Craig Groeschel is no surprise that he is physically fit. That is an area where he's really put a lot of thought, effort, and he set a lot of really great goals around. And so for us four, for sure, we were like, hey, if we want to be the best leaders we can possibly be, we really need to work on our physical fitness. And so I think that was one of the areas we really talked about a lot. I'm going to give a shout out to Neff. I hope he listens to this book club. He listened to episode 1. So I hope he listens to this, but he's lost 40 pounds since we started working on our health. And I think that is part of planning the escape. He's planned the escape on how to make sure that he doesn't even get near the line, but he actually stays away from the line. And there's 2 things that I really think when I think about Neff. Oh, look, balloons for Neff. When I think about why Neff has been so successful recently, there's 2 things. One, he set a budget around groceries. And we laugh about this, but he has a $48 budget per week. Him and his wife have a $48 budget. So that's crazy, right? He actually sent me a text today and he only spent $41 on his food for the week. But he set a budget around food. Him and his wife were eating out a lot, and they realized that they were actually spending a ton of money on food. And so they set a really good budget around food. They set a budget around eating out as well. And so that's really helped him with his physical fitness and losing those 40 pounds. He eats very, very similar things every day. If you listen to Craig Groeschel's podcast, he said that physical fitness side, it's boring. And that's just one of those things of you have to get repetition in your food, repetition in your exercise. That's what's going to help you see the results you want to see. So I think that's the first thing is he set some goals even around some financial things, and that really helped with his physical fitness. But I think the second biggest thing that he did was accountability. So all 4 of us are accountable in the physical fitness aspect when we get together for a meeting or whenever, we text each other, we'll text each other goals or we'll talk about exciting challenges that we've met. And I think that accountability aspect, and that's something that he talks about in the second section, is a huge component of success in achieving your goals, thinking ahead, and really moving the line. And I think when there's always someone else involved, and this is kind of what he says in the book. And also, by the way, I'm going to give a shout out to the workbook. I've really been working through this. I worked a lot on it on Sunday on some sessions. But get this workbook. This is also on Amazon. I think it's around $15 as well. But in the workbook, he says someone else is always involved in areas where you struggle to hold yourself accountable. Ultimately, you won't hold your own self accountable. It's just not going to work. You've got to have people that are on your side asking you daily, weekly, monthly, hey, how's this going? You said this is what you wanted to achieve. How's it going? And you got to move that instead of just thinking, okay, how close to the line can I get? You've got to literally stay away from the line completely.
And I guess just to add to that, Giovanna, I feel like sometimes in the pursuit of being away from the line entirely, sometimes we get extreme. I think one of my faults in the area of at least the physical bucket, we talked about, that's the bucket that we're on right now, and it's usually the bucket, I think, that when you having this level of conversation, it's the bucket that comes up the most. But it's in trying to avoid it, you try to go all in all at once. And I think sometimes you have to realize there's steps and phases that you got to do in order to effectively move the line. Me, myself, that's another, like I said, that's a bucket that I'm working on. And to be honest with you, I'm not as disciplined as Neff when it comes down to that weekly budget. I'm just not. Literally, when he said that, I probably laughed out my chair. Not laughed out my chair, I almost fell out my chair the day we had that meeting and he brought that up. But I thought it was something to work towards. But for me, I had to start tricking myself a little bit, right? I had to kind of mentally start doing certain little things that'll help me move the line. For me personally, and I don't know if I've ever talked about this in one of our meetings, but I'll just kind of be forthcoming in this conversation. But when we go out to eat or when we get food for dinner, all of us will order something to take home, me, my wife, the kids. But then I stopped ordering because I noticed that my kids didn't eat all of their food, and me and my kids have the same palate. So the reality of it is that I know I want to eat something, but I know that if I eat behind them, that's going to automatically give me a smaller portion. I'll fulfill I'll still satisfy the need for me to get a little little something that's maybe outside of, my healthy diet, but also it's not the full portion of what I would normally get. So for me, moving the line in that physical area was making the conscious decision to say, hey, I'm just going to stop ordering. Plus, I probably took up the largest part of the bill. So doing that kind of did two things for us. It kind of helped us save a little bit more money every time we went out to eat. But then also too, it reduced my portion size dramatically. And then, so I'm still getting, as they all joke on me, I eat chicken strips and fries. And so guess what? My kids eat the same thing, chicken nuggets and fries, or a burger, plain burger, that is. And so I can always just share off them. And that helps me move the line in that area. And that's not the only thing, but I can know for sure we know that we're going to eat dinner as a family. We're going to probably eat the same thing. So that just really helps me. Or on the days where they eat something that I don't eat, I still keep the same philosophy. And that's the day I really move the line. I really move the line, because it's like, all right, well, I'm left with what's going on here at home. So let me accommodate myself that way. So no, definitely. Yeah. And shout out to Neff. Neff set the challenge. He kind of set the tone for us when we were talking about this. And then you and I kind of challenged each other a little bit, but I think Neff, in terms of just like net progress, is kind of blowing us both out of the water. So kudos to him.
I think one other thing, and this is something that I wrote down on here, and this is an area for me to really work on too. But I've been challenging myself, but I think this is where I kind of get too close to the line. Maybe don't even hit this one, but one thing that I think I'm going to start doing, so y'all can hold me to this, is to be something you can comment on our Lead Better, or you can even bring it up on Leader Square if you want to be part of that free app that I'm posting some stuff around the book club as well. But I think I really need to move my alarm. So I've been really trying to get up between 5:30 and 6, really more towards that 5:30. I've been a person that gets up at 6:15. Really need to move it back just a little bit, because I'm most productive in the morning. And so, but this morning I hit the snooze alarm one time. I was not happy with myself when I got up. But I think one of the things that he talks about is putting your alarm across the room so that you have to get up. There's no way that you can hit snooze. And for me, once I'm out of bed, I'm out of bed. So I really think that's something that this week I'm going to do, is put my alarm across the room, so that when it goes off, I 100% have to get up and I don't have to hit snooze. And I'm actually a lot happier when I get to doing my stuff, because I haven't hit snooze. This morning I was so frustrated with myself, but I think that's what we're all learning. That's what we're all talking about, is we all have those areas where we need to get better and we need to really plan our escape. So think about the areas that you want to improve in and plan your escape. Make sure you don't even get close to that line, because that's really going to help you achieve your goals and really think ahead and make progress in your life.
And just to add to that, I know one of the things that's in our notes to talk about, I know a goal that a lot of people have. Oh, and let me say this. Most goals that any of us have require time, right? They require us to manage our time well. And a lot of times we find ourselves saying, man, I don't have enough time in a day. One of the challenges that's listed here in our notes is to talk about leveraging the screen time functionality on your iPhone. And also they have the same functionality on the Android too. Giovanna has she has limits on her phone. I've been having limits on my phone, and I will tell you, it has made a world of difference in terms of you calculating or actually seeing how much time you're spending scrolling Facebook or scrolling TikTok or being on YouTube, or just doing things that are counterproductive. If you find yourself saying, I wish I had more time to exercise, I wish I had more time to read, I wish I had more time to do certain things, I wish I had more time to move the lines in the buckets that I want to move them in, I would challenge you today, when you're listening to this, hit pause, go to your settings, search screen time, and then see how much your time you're spending in those different areas, and take a realistic a view of your life and say, can I cut that time in half? And if I did cut that time in half, what could I forward it to in terms of moving the line? So there's a lot of tech that we could use. That's just one example. A more of a simpler example is how many people out there actually use the calendar on their phones. In terms of staying organized, I know a lot of people will say, man, I forgot to do this today, or I'm forgetting to do that. Or I think we talked about this a little bit in the last episode about just going digital and using your digital resources, but using the I always tell people these things are $1,000 supercomputers. Why aren't you using that to your advantage to try to help you stay organized? And it's more specifically to this. Use this to help you plan your escape. Let me like your calendar will allow you to understand what a hard stop is. Like, sometimes, I've been guilty of this plenty of times. Giovanna, I'm sure you have been. Actually, I know we all guilty of it because we do it to each other almost once a week and once every other week, where we're in a meeting and we just get to talking and the conversation gets really rich. And then you look up and you've talked for 30-40 minutes over the time in which you plan to meet. What did that great? The time was good and well spent, but what did you take away from in terms of moving the line? So I think if you leverage the calendar, if you leverage things to help you manage your time, screen time functionality, it will keep you on track and help you move that line.
So I think this is a good point, Alex, where we can quit, because we've kind of given them an intro into what I will be devoted looks like, which is going to be our next book club session. I have a lot of fun facts around screen time. I have a lot of fun facts around the hours of our life and how many hours we spend sleeping and working and what we do with those leftover hours. That's going to be a really, really rich, great conversation for our next book club, which will be coming out probably later this week. So I think we're at a point where we can throw it back to them, give them a little bit of homework. I think it's always good for them to have a little exercise. So I want you to, for this exercise, I want you to look back on the temptations list that you made from last book club that we talked about for that last exercise, temptations to avoid. I want you to identify where your weakness lies with that temptation, and I want you to create an escape plan for it. So for me, I'll give an example of this. Obviously my temptation is to hit that snooze button at least one time, which my snooze is set for 5 minutes. So some people set it for 10, 15. You can set it for what you want, but it's not a good thing to keep sleeping, especially when I've got work to do and I know that I'm most productive in the morning. And so that's the weakness that I've identified, is that I really love to hit that snooze button. And I think my escape plan, or a good escape plan for that, would be to move my alarm across the room. So I think I want you to look at, I think what would really help you is look at that temptations list that you created from Book Club Podcast 1. And if you didn't listen to that one, go back and listen to it. It's never too late, it's still on YouTube. Go back and listen to it and figure out how to create that list, and then go back and say, okay, how can I create an escape plan for these weaknesses I have?
Awesome. Well, I thank you guys so much for tuning in. This concludes this portion of the book study. And until next time, TPE family, peace. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We appreciate you guys participating and engaging with us. If you want more information on how you can get connected with us and how you can continue your journey of leadership development, head over to tpenow.com. Join leadership